here for a couple of minutes, so please bear with me. I'm very sick and tired of a narrative that is being associated with our channel. It's bothersome. I've tried to address it privately with Hall of Fame Jason, actually, who continues to put out a narrative, okay, that this channel, Sooner Surge, is, quote, killing coaches and players.
I guess it's time to clear this up or make it worse. Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Glad everybody's in here. Look, we're going to get into a couple of things that it's kind of been dragging on for a little while, and it involves the boys, the twins over at the Sooner Surge. And man, we're just so terrible over here. Constantly pushing this narrative of how negative they really are. All right. I was being a little petty. Listen, last night I went on to their show and I basically was just participating in what they were talking about. And as usual, they were telling it like it is in there. And the second anybody sees me in that show, since something happened here just recently, I get the attack comes, and it's fine. It's fine. But just to give you a little bit of background, basically how this all started was I guess it's been a month and a half, a couple months, whatever. The Surge twins got their panties in a twist over, something that was said on the show with myself and my guest from Unfair Sports, Eric Cooper. Coop's my buddy. He's more than welcome to say whatever he wants on the show. He did. He said what he wanted to say. It came off as negative. They heard about it, came at me. I'll just kind of let me let Germ get it off his chest here.
That's a big thing.
Okay, hey, I'm going to say it. Listen, Surgeaholics, those that are on our show every night, those that have gone back over a year since we've been on this podcast, and those who are new tonight, I've just got to talk here for a couple of minutes, so please bear with me. I'm very sick and tired of a narrative that is being associated with our channel. It's bothersome. I've tried to address it privately with Hall of Fame Jason, actually, who continues to put out a narrative, okay, that this channel, Sooner Surge, is, quote, killing coaches and players, and it's this all attacking of OU players and coaches, and that's the narrative that we are pushing and promoting. That is so far from the truth. And I want to get it out there and say that I would hope you guys that are here every night don't believe it, because are we negative to what's happening at OU? Yes, we're realists, okay? We're going to sit here and tell it like it is, just like our mantra is at the top, okay? But I tried to handle something privately by going to this person and saying, I'm just curious why the attack of our podcast, and saying how negative this is, and how we're not going to be like the Sooner Surge and all this stuff. I handled it the right way. but it continues to be thrown out there about how the Sooner Surge is just negative, how it's attacking things. And Jay, I don't know what you want to say on the matter, but hey, I'm going to say this. I welcome Hall of Fame, Jason. I welcome all Sooner podcasts. There's so much room in the podcast world for everyone and differing viewpoints. I'm not going to bash it, okay? I just want the narrative, the false narrative that is being promoted about our channel to be, I just want to basically say that's not who we are, and I hope you guys know that. That is not who we are.
The funny thing about it is that it is true. And it's, I mean, listen, or it's my opinion or whatever. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Oh, that's an opinion that everybody has about me that doesn't like my show and likes them. Those of you that think you got to take a side or whatever, go ahead. I don't care. I say cuss words. Coach says cuss words. Everybody that comes on my show says cuss words. I don't give a shit, to quote Coach. Okay? Look, that I continue to put out this narrative about how negative they are is so far from the truth. Well, and he did bring it up. He did bring it up to me. After we had one of the folks that used to watch both of our shows, who has since been blocked because of this incident, but it wasn't the first time I'd had to block this person. They've been in the middle of, there's a lot of weird things that go on in the YouTube world. Negativity goes back and forth quite a lot. And I mean, it's part of the game. You know, you have difference of opinions. We're talking sports here. We're not curing cancer. We're talking sports. So people have different opinions, but there's some folks that watch YouTube that really like to get shit stirred up between podcasters. Listen, I'm somebody called me Richard Petty the other day. So I'm cool with this. But when there's a line that shouldn't cross. Now, the narrative about my show is that if you have a difference of opinion from me, then I just kick you out of the show. Now, that's not true. That's not true. When I start kicking people out of the show, it's when they've come in and gotten personal. When they make it personal, whatever the argument that they may have about it, they don't like it if I'm talking about Lincoln Riley. Or in the case of Oklahoma fans, they don't like it when they come in and say something stupid like, fire Brent Venables, he fucking sucks. Okay. I don't mind if you have an opinion. In fact, I've been negative and been critical of Coach V and the staff and what happened over the last year. I mean, listen, we're talking sports. We tell it like it is too. We tell it like it is too. Okay. But I expect, and I've told this to my audience, if you watch this show, you know that if you're going to come in and be saying things like that, then you should probably make sure that you have something to back it up. A little something that, you know, JD Piquel was talking about this on his show yesterday, and he was actually talking about Sooner fans and how there's such a lack of nuance these days in sports talk. When you start, I mean, because he had picked them to go 6-6. Now, I will tell you that his reasoning to pick them to go 6-6, I know he laid it out there pretty good. Okay, whatever. It happened. It worked out. They went 6-7 for the second time in 3 years. And this is the reason that people are pissed off, and they go into the surge and they say this stuff day after day after day. Now, nobody ever talks about the fact that, you know, all the roster attrition from year one. They talk about 2 out of 3 years you've been 6-7. They never talk about the roster attrition. They don't talk about a new quarterback coming into play. In fact, 2 new quarterbacks were in the picture. They don't talk about new coordinators, Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley, who really, they struggled. Let's just put it mildly. No, they freaking sucked. Okay? Wasn't even all their fault, though, either. But there's some things that it's so easy to just put it all off on Brent Venables because he's the head coach, which I get. The head coach catches it all. But you know there's some other things that went with it. If you're just one of those negative people, then I'm going to call you out on it. I generally don't block anybody. I might put you in timeout for the day, but I don't block people unless they've come in and gotten completely, you know, there's been some threats. There's some different things that happen on these shows sometimes that I'm just not going to deal with it. It's not worth, you know, your sanity. But So I was in the show last night, and I was participating in their show, going back and forth with what they were talking about. They immediately got defensive. They've been defensive a few times. They've brought it up more than once.
They got to win games, Hall of Fame.
Hey,
They got to win
no
games.
offense, Hall of Fame. Look, a doom and gloom whiner. I've been called that a lot. I think specifically by you, but I'm not a whiner.
No, and you
I'm
know
not
why?
whining
I think
about. I'm not. Yeah, look.
I mean,
we've said this before. When they won this year, I've been very positive, Jay. Actually,
yeah,
Jay,
I mean, it is.
even when Joe John Finley started calling plays, I talked about how the offense at least looked like they had some identity. Never am I going to personally bash a player, though, nor am I personally going to bash the coaches. Now, I will, when it's not pretty, I think we should, as fans, have a right to say this isn't good. And what's happened at OU in 3 years hasn't been good outside the second year, when actually, though, they should have been in a playoff, Jay. They lost to two teams that they were way better than. If OU would have went to the Big 12 championship game that year, there would have been a little less, I think, talk.
Well, and
yeah, if they would have went to the championship, there would have been less talk. But again, when you start saying things like this, you're leaving nuance out of the picture, and that's where I come in, and I have an issue with it, because you say you tell it like it is, but you don't tell it completely like it is on this show, and neither do any of your fans. Let's just be real about it. I say this on the show a lot. I don't care. I don't care how many of you like me and don't like me. I know that a lot of people do agree with what I have to say, that there's a segment, and I think it's a fairly small segment of Oklahoma fans that think it's their God-given right to bitch and complain over something that they've never done before, or they've never, they just expect for Oklahoma to be perfect, to win every damn football game, no matter who you're up against, and no matter the circumstances, they expect it. And if it's not going that way, they're not offering up anything of, reasons why, or understanding that, this is a process. Because guess what? The 6 out of 7, 2 out of 3 years, you're leaving nuance out of it. Because if you really want to sit here and talk about year one under BV, you're going to sit there and tell me that there wasn't 45 guys left that team that Lincoln Riley had his last one that went 11-2. They didn't lose 45 guys, including 2 5-star quarterbacks, a number of receivers, the best defensive players that they had, including Nick Bonito, some of those other guys. The cupboard was far from full. It certainly didn't have the same amount of talent in the class, or it certainly didn't have the same amount of talent in the locker room as the Sooners had when Bob Stoops left the program to Lincoln Riley. No, Lincoln tried to burn it down on his way out because he was pissed off that they didn't tell him about going to the SEC. He didn't like it. Okay, fine. There's some nuance for you. So they went 6-7. They got a new quarterback. They only had one, though. They didn't have two. Brent Venables is trying to figure out the defense and get it going. Danny Stutzman and Billy Bohm, there were some guys that did their thing, but they were awful on defense. They were pretty good on offense still. They lost 7 games. 5 of those games they lost by 7 points or less. And 4 of those they lost by 3 points. But Venables would never put that off on anybody but himself. He takes full accountability for everything that happens. The year after that, they go 10-3. And he just talked about that, but they lost to 2 teams they should have never lost to, or 3 teams they should have never lost to. Okay, fine. Let's talk about those. They did beat Texas. Who went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. And then they lost the games to Kansas on the road and Oklahoma State on the road. Back-to-back weeks. They rebounded from there and won out until the bowl game when they had a new quarterback, new coordinators that we know weren't very good. But let's talk about those 2 games they lost during the season. The Kansas game, yeah, okay. If you want to do what a lot of people want to do and just say, yeah, it's because of Brent Venables. He's the head coach. Okay, I guess you could do that. I guess you can do that. But Jeff Lebby, we all know, as good as he is at play calling and scheming it up, he lacked a little bit in the situational stuff, right? He only called what was it, like 16 passes for Dylan Gabriel in a game against Kansas on the road. They lost it by a couple of points. Should have won it, but he had 16 passes. Jason Bean, on the other hand, threw the ball more than 35 times. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Whatever. They lost the game. You can blame that on BV if you want to. I don't know that you should, but you can, because ultimately it does fall on him. But in the end, okay, fine. How about the Bedlam game the next week? Sure. Again, Lebby, not great situationally play calling. There were some things, like the direct snap to Javonte Barnes that wasn't very smart. He hadn't been in the game in a damn month. And you decide that one after Gavin Sawchuk had just ran about 75 yards. You decide to come up with that play of all things. It turns into a fumble. The momentum changes, and now you're in a dogfight that you probably shouldn't have been in. You know what else happened in that game? Brett Yormark pulled the lever and made sure that Oklahoma didn't win when Drake Stoops got tackled in the end zone, not called as an interference. That would have been the game-winning touchdown. There were a number of other calls, but let's just leave it at that. That's nuance, folks. That's what you call nuance. And none of that really goes on inside the Sooner Surge. It really just doesn't.
Jay, I'm sure everyone has been critical. Look, I don't watch a lot of things, but I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't been critical. Like, come on.
Jeremy, here's the difference. Here's the difference.
I've never personally bashed anyone, though.
No, but here's the difference. It's different when, like, this, it's a fan channel, okay? We show comments. We show comments if they're negative. I know some channels never show a comment if it's negative. So, and that's fine if that's right. But if people want to call in here and be negative, that's fine. I won't always agree with it. Just because somebody calls in on our show and says, fire Joe C., that doesn't mean I agree with it. But you know what? We're going to let them say their piece. That's all. I mean, it doesn't mean I agree with it, okay? I don't agree with everything that everybody calls in and says. I don't agree with all the negativity. Jim, we've argued with people all the time on here going different opinions. It's not always negative on OU. So I don't want to spend much time talking about this. So
the thing is, they did spend a lot of time on this. They've spent a hell of a lot more time on this than I have. I've made little jokes and stuff when people came back at me. They've at least talked about this very instance of what I had to say before at least 3 or 4 times on their show that I know of and saw. Okay, I've got more clips than I care to sit here and show. The point is, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit, and that's another thing. You guys think that it makes you different, it makes you better because you don't say cuss words or allow cuss words on your show. Good for you. Good for you. I say them. Sorry. And just real quick to bring up what he was talking about in the very first thing when he was talking about he tried to come to me and bring it to me. He did send me a DM on Twitter and brought it up that, why are you guys bashing our show? I don't think that that's right. Blah, blah, blah. We don't ever do that. Blah, 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 blah. He said that he had watched and saw what was said. Okay, well, if you watched and saw what was said that night with Coop on the show from Unfair Sports, Coop made a comment to the troublemaker that we've since kicked out of the show, and she took it back to him. And, I told him, I said, well, then if you watched it, then why are you giving this? Why are you saying this to me? He said, well, I know that Coop said it. I sent a similar message to him. Okay, well, cool. I'm just going to let you know that when we talk about you on this show, generally speaking, it is that we're not going to do all that, sit here and go and just dog these players. I don't believe in just trashing players the way that you guys do on the show and you allow to happen on your show. If you're going to do that, then you better have a reason for it. But I don't like that, just trashing players. And you do a lot of that crap. And not just on that show. There's a lot of shows that do it, and it happens all over Twitter. And guess what? For all the people they demand a better product on the field, and yet they do stupid shit like that and say things like that, knowing that these kids are paying attention. Do you think that makes the university more attractive to good players? Guess what? It doesn't. It just doesn't. So in the end, it is what it is. I'm going to tell you that if you're going to come onto my show, and I've been critical of him before too. I've been critical of Brent Venables for situational stuff, his inability to, get up to speed with how to handle the clock, certain game management decisions that we've seen even this year. But if you're not going to talk about the stuff that contributed to what happened this season, or the fact that Lincoln Riley left a dumpster fire when he got left a highly well-running Ferrari, if you're going to leave that stuff out, then I don't want to hear from you. If you're going to have something, if you got something to say and you can back it up that you heard this, or you don't like the way that this is going on or that's going on or whatever, fine. Then we can talk all day. Don't come in and be personal, and don't attack players. I don't appreciate that part of it. If you do that, then yeah, I'm going to go back and forth with you, because guess what? I tell it like it is. It's all good to tell it like it is. I'm fine with that. But the only person that doesn't get to tell it like it is, according to some of the people that come and watch your show, is me. You don't love it that we say what we want. We tell it like it is on this show. It's as simple as that. In the end, we're realists. We tell it like it is, and it's negative. They're going to have to win games. No shit. No shit, they got to win games. No shit, things needed to change. No shit, they didn't have the right coordinators running this offense. No shit, the offense was god-awful this year, and it lost them football games. You can go and just stick it all on Brent Venables if you want to, but you're not putting out any nuance to what is really happening within the Switzer Center. And so, you know what? If you don't like the opinions that we have, so be it. I don't give a shit if you like the opinion that I have. I don't know why you care about the opinion that I have either. If you're going to go out there and say the things that you guys say and never put any nuance to it, then I'm going to not probably have nice things to say about your opinions, because they're trash. They're trash. Just like you guys seem to think that Brent Venables is, I think your opinion's trash. If you're saying that stuff. If you want to come in and talk about it, we can. I don't mind debate. That's part of what this thing is. These things kind of happen in this space. It seems to get a little prickly for some. I don't really give a damn. I don't. I'm going to tell it like it is. Period. I know the game. I have people on my show that know the game and understand all of it. Most of the time, you don't. Even Stutzman's dad, shout out to him, by the way, went on your show last night, and he did say nice things about you. And I don't even have anything against you guys necessarily. I really don't. I wasn't bashing you last night. I was participating in the show. He praised you guys, and I'm glad he did. Glad he did. And I'm glad you tell it like it is if that's what you want to do. Fine. The difference in you and me is I don't put up with guys like Chester's stupid ass in there, or Kearney, and that when they don't have anything to add to it other than their negativity and bullshit. I don't put up with it. I don't put up with Lori and her mouth either. I don't. You can say that stuff on that show if you want to. You're not going to say it here and not back it up with anything real. That's the difference. That's the difference. In the end, it is, guys, I hope everybody enjoys it. And you know what, man? I'm actually having fun just having this conversation right now. It finally came up to, I was trying to participate. I wasn't being an ass. And you guys got all upset about it. So I decided I would go ahead and address it finally in reality and tell you what I really think. And what I really think is the people in your audience should be smarter. And you should hold them to that. If it's me, I hold them to it. I make sure that if you're going to come in being negative, you better have something to back it up. Don't say stupid shit like fire BV unless you have a reason to it. Don't come in. When I've gotten pissed at people and putting them in timeouts, sometimes I put people in timeouts because it amuses me. Mostly the Texas guys that come in. They get a 1-minute timeout just for showing up. Ask Benji and some of those guys. It happens. It's part of the fun for me. And for me, it's my show. It's fun for me. That's how I like it. But in the end, The ones that really piss me off are the ones that start saying stupid shit about he should leave because of the problems with his wife. They don't give a shit about his wife. They just care about losing games. They don't care about the fact that you had 6 receivers out this year, that your quarterback wasn't near as good as the 5-stars said he would be, that those coordinators weren't getting it done. Venables may or may not have had control over that situation where he could either hire or fire Seth Luttrell. He takes full responsibility for it. I leave it at that. But there's nuances to this stuff that people aren't paying attention to. And I'm going to tell you that I don't believe that he's probably going to get fired this year unless they were to go like 4-8. And this is what I was saying in your show last night, and I was getting attacked for it. Listen, I don't care if you agree with me. At least I was giving you reasons. Go back and look. Go back and look. In the end, it is what it is. I don't have any hate for you guys. We're all Sooner fans. Maybe we don't agree with everything. That's cool too. We don't all have to be buddies. In the end, it is what it is. This is part of the game. And I was participating in your show. You notice I got a membership to your show. It was gifted to me. I'll say that. But I figure I might as well go in there and use it. In the end, guys, I hope everybody has a good day. Let me know what you think. Is it okay to just be negative all the time like you do on Sooner Surge? Or should you at least have to have some nuance and some context with what you're saying if you're going to attack players and coaches? Let me know what you think, and we'll see you all on the next one.